The climate is changing, but is there any need to panic? Climate alarmists would have you think that the world is ending, but what does the data show? Crop yields are the highest they've been in years, storm deaths are significantly down, the frequency of cyclones are down, and we're already decreasing our national CO2 emissions. And as technology increases, those numbers will get even better, so it appears there's no need to panic. But that doesn't stop radical climate activists from fear-mongering. Here's an example. On September 26, 2019, Greta Thunberg said, "Whole nations are now literally being left in ruins or disappearing underneath rising sea levels." This is absolutely false and insane. It's just not true. No nations have recently disappeared underneath rising sea levels. That's completely nonsense. This is just more climate alarmism propaganda, and people actually believe this nonsense. Now, there's no legitimacy to her claim, but what about the future? Are there nations that are at risk for being under the sea level in the future? Well, maybe. According to a study cited by the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, there are 5 very small nations that may become uninhabitable by the year 2100. Yes, you heard that correctly. 2100. The 5 nations are the Maldives, Tuvalu, the Marshall Islands, Nauru, and Kiribati. That being said, other studies show the opposite results. For instance, a recent study showed that since the year 2000, many islands, including the nations of Maldives, Marshall Islands, Kiribati, and Tuvalu, have actually grown in size during the same period that sea levels have risen. They did not shrink like scientists had predicted. This study is a major contradiction to the UN study. Other studies have shown similar results. One research paper even showed that the Maldives might have actually formed thousands of years ago when the sea levels were even higher than they are today. Due to the conflicting studies and research, it's a safe bet to say there's no guarantee that the sea will actually swallow up those nations. But let's say that this does happen, hypothetically. Well, hypothetically, if that did happen, the 5 nations in question have a population of 716,096 people as of 2021. So if those nations did absolutely nothing, then the rising sea levels would make those nations uninhabitable, and all those people would be displaced from their homes. That is, if they did absolutely nothing. They would have to ignore rising sea levels for almost 80 years. They would have to ignore possible solutions, like the solutions that they are already doing, like man-made islands, which they are already doing, sea homes, which they are already doing, and seawalls, which they are already doing. But let's hypothetically say all of that fails, even though that would be highly unlikely. That would mean that in almost 80 years, the population of those 5 nations would be displaced from their homes. So over 700,000 people, or whatever the new population says will be at that point, will be displaced from their homes. Just to put that in perspective, the population of New York City is currently about 8.5 million people, almost 12 times larger than the entire population size of those 5 nations combined. So in summary, 5 extremely small nations might be underwater in 80 years if they decided to stop doing what they are already doing and instead do absolutely nothing. And for this and multiple other ridiculous reasons, the radical left has decided that the world should spend an enormous amount of money plunging developing nations in more extreme poverty, all to set up unreliable alternative energy sources in an attempt for the world to go net zero. Yeah, that makes sense. And this is why people criticize Greta Thunberg. She doesn't know what she's talking about at all. Anyway, that concludes my video. For more information, check out my article, Top 5 Climate Alarmism Myths. The link will be in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.